Okay, YouTube family friends, welcome back to another edition of Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Editions. Mechanic is a word that we used 20 years ago when I was a diesel mechanic, so we just called ourselves mechanics instead of mechanics. So this is an edition of Mustang Fanatics Mechanic Editions. So we work on and solve mechanical issues and problems. So, good morning, YouTube family and friends. Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Mechanic Edition. We're back with the 99 Ford Escort. We are taking the water pump off. So let me show you how I got the lower radiator hose off. You just got to be creative in how you do it. So those special clamps right here. You squeeze that and it squeezes the clamp. And then from underneath, there's the clamp clamped on right there. So I took a screwdriver, a long screwdriver, and I put it against there and pressed on it to get the hose clamp to come loose. So we got that loose. So we're gonna drop that. I got a spill pan down here to catch what little fluid that's going to come out. So now I'm going to pull that hose through to the other side. So as you can see, we do have the hose loose. There's the shiny portion of the water pump sticking out. Now back here, this is part of the hose here. So I reach back here underneath and you can see where my line is wiggling. I took the hose off from that end by pulling like that. So now I'm gonna just take and disconnect that clamp because I'm not gonna reuse that clamp. Those come from the factory, and in my experiences, those are mostly like a one-time use, and when you put them back on, they will fail. So I'll get the type that has the 1/8 inch head, or you can use a screwdriver to take it out. So what you got to do is use tools at your disposal. I used some of these hose clamp twisters and some of these angle pliers, 90-degree angles, and put it on the clip, work the clip back, and again use my screwdriver and push back, and we got the heater hose off that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the tension off the idler gear. We actually can take the idler gear right off, but to take the tension off of it, you get a 1/8 inch hex head ratchet or socket with a ratchet, and turn it and hold it, and then you're able to get the belt off. So we're just going to take that screw off and pull that tensioner off because the tensioner is no good. So this is the timing tensioner, and as you can see, the race and the bearing is completely gone. So that's why it jumped time, and that's why we had a crank but no start position, is because the timing tensioner completely gave out the race and the bearing. So there's a 10mm nut that you take loose right out of there, and there's a seal that goes behind it, which is right here. It's like a O-ring that gives it just a little bit of space. So as you can see, I got the maiden surface all clean. She's all cleaned up. Try to get a better shot for you. It's all cleaned up, wiped up, nice and good. That's the maiden surface. I got all the water out. Now, what I did, I got a bead all the way around the gasket on the outside, and I got a bead on the inside of this gasket, so that way it'll hold. And here's my bolts that goes right through. So now all I got to do is just install this water pump and put the bolts on it. Okay, as I promised, see the new hose clamps? Radiator hose clamps on that one, and the radiator hose clamp on that one. Now let's show you the timing. That notch that says front, and then that piece right there, that's got to line up with that. And the crank is lined up. On the cam, you'll see a dot. Can't get a great shot on this one. Focus. Close. Right there, you see that little hole in the top of the head, and then this little pointy thing there, that lines up with that, and we know we have it in time. Now we're going to put the belt on, and we got the timing tensioner in, which is right there, and then there's the pin that you pull and it'll put slack on it. So let me get the timing belt and put that on. So we got the timing belt on. We got good tension on it. I love that tension on it. And our arrows are lined up. So we are still in time, perfect time. And this pin was held in while the gear was over there. And what I take it and do while it's loose, I take a rag and stuff it inside here with a screwdriver to keep tension on that belt. And what I did, I turned the cam back probably 2 notches and put the belt on, and then once I had the belt on, I turned the cam back to where it was lined up with the notch on top of the head, and then fitted the belt around the water pump, and it easily slides on the timing tensioner. Easily bolts up on there, and then once you have that, you pull the pin out with some grip pliers or pliers, and you make sure you have good tension, and that's excellent tension. And so you can see we are in time. There's that notch on the head, and there's that notch right there. They both line up. And then if we look down here, you can see, it's hard to see that notch on the end of the crank, but it's lined up. Let me see if I get a better shot through here. Let's see. And there it is. It's lined up. I can see it from here so easy, but it's hard for you to see it because of the angle that it's on. But it's lined up. There's that notch right there, lined up with the little black notch on it. So it's good to go. So technically I can crank the car to see if it starts up. Got the water pump on, but I really don't want to crank it up with no water going through the new water pump. So I'll go ahead and put some coolant in here and leave this here open. I'm gonna put my gear back on, the crank gear, because the crank sensor has to be on there or else it won't recognize the crank sensor. I'm gonna put the crank gear back on there, tighten it down real good, and then fill it up with antifreeze, and just to crank it over. We're not gonna burp the system up. We're just gonna put a little bit of antifreeze in there to make sure we got some in there, so it'll go through the water pump. I don't want to mess a new water pump up. One important thing I forgot: once you get it timed, you want to take and put 17mm socket on the crank bar, and you want to rotate the engine twice to make sure your cam lines up and the crankshaft line up. So you turn it 2 rotations. Okay, we got some coolant in here, and so far there's no leak without the engine running, so everything looks tight. So now our goal is not to purge the air out of the system, the radiator. Our goal here is to see if we got it in time, then the engine will start. So let's get the key, and this is the moment of truth I'm waiting for. So I don't have none of the accessories hooked up, just the crank gear, and I got the water pump in, the tensioner, got the belt all tight, and I got antifreeze in the system. I just connected the battery, so we're just gonna see if she cranks, and I'll let her run for about 30 seconds. We're gonna make sure she starts up. That's all. That's our goal, and then we'll worry about purging the air later. And there you go. She runs. She started up. That's all we want to hear. So that's all we wanted to see, is that she cranks up. And you heard her. She cranked up. She's running. She's in time. Everything sounds good. So now we're going to go ahead. We're going to really tighten this bolt. This tensioner bolt, we're going to tighten that a little bit more. We're going to put that cover on. Then we're going to go ahead and put on our accessory belts. And then we'll get this thing burped, and we'll get her on the road and take it for a ride. Okay, YouTube family and friends, I think I worked hard. It's time for a commercial break. We'll be right back. Okay, YouTube family friends, this is the moment you've been waiting for. There is the new rear bumper. As you can see, it says Cobra in the rear. No real surprise that I was going to go with the Cobra 0304 Cobra bumper. It's actually the 9901 Cobra bumper. It's painted, matches the car, looks good. So the next thing is to get my Cobra snake stripe kit back down there, and also to get the inlays Cobra in black. So there you have it. Mustang Fanatic Productions electric with the new rear Cobra bumper. I tell you, it looks shaved, because it makes those 316s stand out a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if it's shaved. All right, I got to go down to my man, my graphic designer, and see how much it costs to do that. Electric, gotta love that 99 SV Cobra. Alrighty, so we're all done with the 99 Ford Escort. Let me here, and we got the timing cover back on. We got the new pulley for the accessory. We got the new accessory serpentine belt put on, the right tension on it. The way I bleed the system is I leave it jacked up in the air, and I leave the cap off. Since there's no bleeder port or screw or anything over here, I let it burp as it goes down inside there. You'll hear it gurgle, gurgle. Pour some more till it comes to the top. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. When it gets to the top, then you start the engine and turn the heat on high to the vents, and then you let the car idle and leave this cap off. And then fortunately, we have the throttle body right here, which the throttle linkage is here, so I can operate from here, and I can bump the RPMs up to 2,000 or 3,000 RPMs and let it idle for a good while. Make sure all the air bubbles get out of there, and then you go back and check and make sure that you have heat. That means the thermostat opened up and everything is going through your heater coil, and it is warming the engine or warming the car up. And I watched the temp gauge. It went up to 1/4 and it stayed there. Let it run for a good while. No leaks. And she starts on the first crank. She sounds nice and quiet. Everything is nice and good. And there we have a video of doing a water pump tensioner timing belt without removing this top engine mount, the side engine mount. It was pretty easy to get it off. It wasn't that hard at all, and it wasn't hard to put it back on. Just got to have the right tools, and you got to use your brain a little bit when things are a little bit hard. Like I said, those clamps that come from the factory, don't reuse those things. They're a pain in the behind. Get you a set of regular hose clamps with a 1/4 inch drive, or either operate by a screwdriver. It save you a lot of trouble. So there you have it. That's how you troubleshoot a vehicle that cranks but will not start. Again, first thing, do we have fuel? Second thing, do we have spark? Third thing, do we have timing? Got to have all those three in order for this car to start. And so we went through that process, and we found out that the tensioner gear, the race, and the bearing just completely was destroyed. And that's one of my first time seeing a race like that. I mean, there it is right there. There's the tensioner. There. This is the outside of it. And see the scores in there? Your race and the ball bearings were in there. So this is what it was sounding like when you try to start the car, but it'll be a lot faster, and it'll sound like a starter whine. That's why I thought it was the starter at first, but then when I got to a quiet area and I listened to the crank, it cranks. The starter was doing its job. So that's when I knew we had a timing problem. And so then that's when I went and took the front tire off, took the inner splash shield off, and had to remove this tensioner in order to get the timing cover out. And then I barred the engine over to timing, and it was off probably about 3 teeth. Even if it's off 1 tooth, it will not start. Or if it does, it'll start crappy. And when I was taking the tensioner loose, it busted off. As soon as I took the bolt off, it split right in my hand. So the bearings were going. So I cleaned everything out. We got the car running. So this car has 163,000 miles. So a dear friend of mine, she'll go another 163,000 miles. Now she got a timing belt, got a new water pump, got a new tensioner timing, got a new pulley idler gear, and got a new serpentine belt. She is good to go with this vehicle for quite a while. Right, let's rev it up. Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. I don't do most of this. I just do favors now because I don't do too much because of my back and my hip. But this is a dear friend, and I'm helping her out. So God bless. Hope you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button, like, share your comments. Thank you, and God bless. Okay, we're in the Escort. We're driving it. As you can see, there's no check engine lights on. Fuel switch is on full. We had not even a 1/10 of a thing on the heater. No squealing or squeaking with the power steering. AC blows. Transmission shifts very well. So we did a bang up job with the Escort. Peace out. So we got the 4 bolts out that's on the water pump. I'll give you an idea over here of the new one. 1, 2, 3, and then there's one up under the heater hose that's right in between there, and then the water pump slides out. I fished it out through the bottom because of this stud right here. There's not enough room to bring it out through the top. It might be, but for me it was easier to get it out through the back. So we compare the water pump. There's the old, there's the new. It's got the same amount of holes. So what I'm going to take and do is take my screws out here. And just put it in here. Take the stud out, put the stud in, take this screw out here, and put that in there. So now we're going to get the gasket, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put gasket material or sealant on the pump itself and on the face of the gasket, and then put it in.